I turned it up. Tell me if that's better. Oh no! Not the eyeball! Ugh. Ugh. Oh! Oh god. Yeah, there's a little bit. I think it's the fact that we're broadcasting their stream. I think it's their stream that's stuttering, not mine. I don't have any drop frames here. Like the audio's cutting out a little bit too, because we're hosting their channel. Video is really quiet. Okay, I turned it up. Is it still quiet? Alright, I maxed it out, so I can't go any louder than that. This game is co-op, yeah. Hello. Do I ever get nervous? I do get nervous, very nervous. It's good at hiding it. This is new. I don't remember this. Oh wait, maybe not. Whoa. Whoa.
And there you go, everyone. Welcome to the panel from hell. I'm Jeff Keighley. A big day for Baldur's Gate 3, and we have a lot of information to guys about the game. But first of all, we started with that incredible CG. You've seen some of that before, but of course the end was brand new with the world premiere of the full CGI intro for Baldur's Gate 3. And from the looks of it, as you saw right there, we are going to hell in this game, and we're going to learn a lot about that reveal and so much more today. But we're not going to hell alone. I've got some special guests for this panel to give you all the inside scoop on early access for BG3. I'm joined by Mr. Larian himself, creative director Sven from Larian, of course, and also D&D unicorn Chris Perkins from Wizards of the Coast, and Larian's legendary writer Adam Smith. Guys, I have to say, Chris, I guess you didn't get the memo about the set here. It's like these guys.
No, I did not. I'm feeling a little set envy.
Well, Sven's in. He's got his armor. I mean, Adam's got the lights.
Dude,
I
Sven
love it.
did
You
it up,
guys
man.
are full on method. It's a big day for BG3 fans. We've been waiting for details on early access, and I've seen the rundown, guys. Don't worry, we are going to get a date out of these guys by the end of the stream. They promised me. But first of all, let's talk a bit about the game, what was just revealed. Sven, the journey in Baldur's Gate 3 will actually start in Avernus, which is, the first layer of hell here. Tell us a bit about what we just saw and how that's going to tie into the game.
Yeah, so hi Jeff and hi everybody. So we are in a lot of trouble. We were kidnapped. We were snatched by these mind flayers, these alien creatures. They put us aboard this nautiloid. They put a tadpole through our eye, so that's already not very pleasant.
It's kind of quiet,
Then they
right?
were chased by dragons. They tried to escape from these dragons. They decided it was a really good idea to go to hell, to Avernus, the first layer of the 9 hells, to try and to escape these red dragons. But these red dragons managed to follow them. But not only that, they managed to teleport themselves right into the middle of a big conflict between devils and demons. And so me, as a player, I'm going to try to figure out, as a level 1 character, how the hell am I going to get out of here? And so our journey begins in the middle of the Blood War. And the Blood War is a big thing in Dungeons & Dragons. And as a matter of fact, actually, Chris recently, together with his colleagues at Wizards of the Coast, released a book about that, which was Descent into Avernus.
Oh, there's the book itself. Tell us about it.
So the Blood War, for those who don't know, is this eternal battle between demons, which are kind of like evil creatures of entropy that want to destroy everything, and devils, who are evil subjugators and overlords who want to control everything. And that in and of itself doesn't sound like a bad thing until you realize that the Blood War tends to spill all over the place and onto other planes, pretty much anywhere. And so it's really just kind of bad for everybody. And it's been going on for such a long time, longer than anybody can remember, and is not to end anytime soon.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And as far as hell is concerned, so if you don't know much about the 9 hells, there are 9 layers of the hells, and Avernus is the topmost layer. And that is where demons are constantly invading and devils are constantly trying to repel them. And so it's this tireless, ageless battleground heaped with corpses and shattered remains of flying citadels like you saw in the introduction. And it's
in Descent into
really
Avernus, so we talk about in Descent into Avernus, there's a cataclysmic event where the Blood War does spill over into Faerun, and it's a city called Elturel, which is actually dragged into Hell. This all happens in Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus, the D&D adventure module. When we started to build Baldur's Gate 3, we had to decide what actually happened to Elturel at the end of that adventure, because like any good adventure, like any good role-playing game, there's many different ways that story can go. In our story, Elturel is actually, it is saved, but that's not the end of it. It's a cataclysmic event. It has aftershocks that are still passing through the world. So when we regain control of the Nautiloid, we bring ourselves back to Faerun and we crash land. And we crash land somewhere between Baldur's Gate, which is on the west and the Sword Coast, and Elturel. And we're going to see the aftermath of Elturel's descent. There are trains of refugees traveling through this area, and we're going to get caught up in their stories. We can help them, we can hinder them, we can get involved in their stories, but that's not our story. Our story goes back to this thing inside our brain. And if you could talk a little bit about that, the Parasite, Chris, what that's actually doing inside us right now.
Hello?
Yeah, so mind flayers, they're awful. But mind flayers do not procreate the way most other creatures do. The way they procreate is through a process called seromorphosis, in which they implant this
guy's
parasite
perfect teeth. Look at
into
his
a
teeth, dude. They're
humanoid
flawless.
host. And over time, the parasite transforms the host magically into a fully grown adult mind flayer. And it's an absolutely horrific and disturbing process. Once you become a mind flayer, of course, you don't have much in the way of memories of your past self. You are basically one of them.
So, but this tadpole, of course, is a bit different. We already revealed a little bit about that.
Hey, Rogi.
So, as we start panicking and we figured out a way out of hell, we are going to try to figure out how the hell are we going to get rid of this tadpole that's inside of us. And as we're doing that, we'll learn things about the tadpole, and we'll learn that we actually don't have a lot of days left ahead of us. And then suddenly something strange starts happening. We start gaining strange powers. We start not transforming into a mind flayer, which is good, we think. And some of us in our party start thinking, like, maybe this infection is not such a bad thing. Maybe there's something to be said for it, because like for certain characters, it's actually solving problems that they have in life. And so there's a rift that appears in the party. Certain characters say like, well, we need to get rid of this thing. We can't leave it inside of us. Some say, well, maybe we should figure out first what's going on here. Maybe we can find a way of controlling it. And then others say like, hell yeah, this is really cool. We should join the bad guys that are responsible for all of this. And it's at exactly that moment that Hell comes back into the storyline, because a nice gentleman by the name of Raphael makes his action, and he introduces himself very rapidly as a devil. He's very open about it, and he says, well, look, I mean, like, I'm here to propose you a deal. And the reason why I'm proposing a deal to you is because you don't really care about your soul anyway, because you don't have a soul anymore. If you turn into a mind flayer, your soul is gone. So what do you have to lose? And so what's cool is that in multiplayer, when you have multiple players who are going to be confronted by Raphael, they get to decide what they're going to do. So, for instance, Chris, you could say, hell no, I'm never going to live with this tadpole. And Adam could say, well, hell yeah, I'm going to do that. And I could say somewhere in between. And so maybe Adam makes a pact with the devil so he can get the best of the tadpole.
I definitely
he doesn't
would.
transform into a mind flayer. And so that's
That is
where
such a
the
mistake.
contracts of
That
the
is,
devil
that is
Deals with the
that
devil.
would be a huge mistake. Yeah, deals with the devil.
I make a lot of
You-
mistakes, Chris. I make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
So
no,
the funny thing
it's
about devil-
amazing.
No, go on.
Yeah. Obviously, you know, these devil, you know, the devil and the motivation. You know, you talked about sort of, you know, wanting your soul and these deals. Why would you want to make a deal?
Well,
Go ahead,
curiosity.
Sven.
I think a lot
The
of good
expert.
adventure begins with curiosity. You know, I mean, I'm an expert on making mistakes, so I will take this. I may just be curious. I may just want to see what happens. I may be seduced by the devil. They're charismatic. But fundamentally, I have a serious problem, and maybe this devil can help with the problem. But Chris, if you could just talk about what the devil wants in return. What do they actually want from me?
So in the Nine Hells, souls are the currency of the realm. For a devil to acquire a soul, that's great for them because they can trade that soul in essentially to rise in power in the Infernarchy that kind of rules the Nine Hells.
How many souls for a pack of cigarettes?
That's really what they want, souls, souls, souls. And in order to get them, though, they have to corrupt them first. They can't just grab anybody's soul. They have to lead someone down a path where they keep making bad decisions, evil choices. And
Sven looks like he hasn't
so
slept.
that when
like
they
he looks like
die,
he
their
needs sleep.
soul naturally goes to the Nine Hells. That's what the devil wants.
Yeah,
to
they need
happen.
dark souls,
And so
exactly.
They're
The
always
dark soul.
orchestrating events to try to make that happen. And they can do it through seduction, they can do it through deception. However they want to do it is fine. But that's their end game.
Speaking of
So-
decisions and choices, we're going to see a lot of gameplay today, and of course, at
We're
the
seeing
heart of these
gameplay.
games is,
Gameplay. Goody,
decision
goody,
and
goody,
choice
goody.
for the players. We're going to talk a bit about Crusher, who will be returning here for some interactive moments throughout the stream. Adam, why don't you tell us a bit about Crusher and Crusher's role?
Yeah, so we're going to move away from devils briefly and look at a situation some of you may have seen before. We're going to see different aspects of that. So, as a big shout out to the BG Free subreddit, you guys know I love goblins, I love you. This is a scene where we've actually become friends with some goblins. We've actually gone into an encounter of goblins and we're interacting them in a friendly way. We've not gone in bashing their heads. We've decided, hey, let's play cool with them. So we're at a party, we're having a good time. We're having a real good time with these goblins. But then we Crusher. And Crusher's obnoxious, he's unpleasant, he's the guy he's the death of the party. So we're going to meet him and we're going to see how this interaction goes, I think, now, yeah?
Take a look.
Oh yeah, by the way, it's Nick is joining us again, and he's going to be driving the gameplay here and lead us all the way to Crusher. And then you guys are going to get to make the decisions.
Sven looks like a
While
well-kept
he's doing that,
Stephen
can I
Hawking.
just do like a
What a
big
great
shout
comment.
out? Try to make different decisions than you did last time, community. So try to not make the same decision, so you can see how this pans out differently. It's up to you. I mean, but I would sincerely advise you to go in a different direction.
Thrust his arm with me bare hands. Weaker than pixies, humans.
Oh, you got him good.
And who are you? Another pest? Dwarves. Think you rule the world, ha? Everyone says that. And then they spit in our faces. But no more. It's a changing. We got the absolute on our side now. You better learn your place. Go on. Kiss my foot. Or I'll wipe that nasty look right off your face.
End him or leave him. But don't you dare grovel to this slug.
Ooh, what are we gonna do?
All right.
Do I need to rip your ear shells off? You heard me.
Something sounds like straight out of Lord of the Rings, like the.
There's our choice. 4 options. So in the chat, you guys can select which one we should actively choose here, and then we'll come back a little bit later in the stream and see how this sequence plays out based on the community. But guys, which one would you suggest the audience pick? Let's sway them out of the 4 options here. Let's start with you, Chris.
I've got a bit of a rogue temperament, and I'm kind of tempted by whatever that is on his foot there. So I'm of a mind to go with option 1.
Sven?
And, oh, go on, Sven.
All right. No, go ahead, Adam. I go ahead.
Well, I already said I'm a friend to all goblins, so I'm kissing that goblin wherever he wants to kiss.
Oh my god.
Sven?
So I'm intent on showing players a different outcome than they picked last time. I'm pretty sure they're going to pick exactly the same thing they picked last time because that's how people are. But in the case that they want to follow my advice, I would suggest they would spit in his face. I mean, like, I think that's a very powerful.
Yes, spit in his fucking face.
Move. On top of that, Lae'zel is going to approve of this, so I would just go for spit him in the face.
All right. Well,
But in-
three of
in
the
the
four
COVID
options have been selected. You guys again vote in the chat, and then we'll come back in a few minutes and we'll play out the sequence with your choice, and this will continue on kind of throughout the stream. While we tally results in the chat, wanted to ask you guys on just development of BG3, how things are progressing on the game. Obviously it's been a difficult year for all of us, and especially game developers working from home in this COVID pandemic world. So Sven, wanted to ask you, like, how is development going? We know we're going to get an early access date out of you guys, hopefully by the end of the stream here. What's it been like to make BG3 this year? Are things progressing as you'd like?
Yeah, it's going. I mean, like, the question how development is going ever since we started on this. I think I had the guys from Wizards ask me continue. How's it going? How's it going? How's it going? So I'll be very happy that we can say, well, actually we have something to show now, so that you can actually go and play, and then I think people will like. So, but it's going. It's slower than we had hoped, of course. But we're getting there. We got pretty much all of our content in there. We managed to get our recording studios back online, which was a big thing. So they're going to be recording the final bits this month. So that's good. We are making progress. Work from home. Luckily, we have studios scattered around the world.
What is that thing in the background? Does anyone see it?
Several
It's
of
like
them
photobombing.
are booted up again, so we're working at 50-60% capacity, so that's also really good. So we're in a good shape to actually push this thing through and get it into the hands of players so that at least they can start fooling around with early access. We would probably already actually have been able to ship early access if we hadn't fallen into some of our old traps. One of these is our ability to underestimate exactly how much we have to add. It seems like we have this counter where we see okay, these are the amount of dialogues in the game, this is the amount of dialogues that are recorded, this is the amount of cinematics that are finished, and that counter is supposed to go to 100%, and then we can ship the early access content. But the thing this counter has been doing, it went from 70 to 80 to 90 to 80 to 70 to 60 to 70 to 80 and so forth. And recently it's been trying to get to 100%, and it's been hovering around 95% since forever. And so that has everything of course to do with the fact that for each dialogue we write, 2 new dialogues pop up as edge cases appear. Right, Adam?
Yeah, first of all, sorry. Second of all, there are multiple reasons for this. This is the first game
Love Adam. Adam's so great.
Of the scale that I've worked on, and one of the things that we are very, very keen to do is to make sure this world is as reactive as we can possibly make it.
Dude, Sven looks so
that benefits
uncomfortable.
all of you when you play. So as we build a situation, as we build a quest, as we build a dialogue, what we find is that somebody within the team or somebody within a different department might say, well, I'd love to be able to do that, or I'm going to approach from this angle, or I'm going to break the timing of this and the chronology of it. And we don't say no, we say yes, and then we adapt to that, and we make sure that the dialogue makes sense, that the way the world reacts makes sense, and that it remembers what you did. And that just adds complexity onto complexity, and it makes for a really, really satisfying experience. And the other part of that is that if somebody has a really cool idea, then it tends to find its way into the game. And we have a lot of really smart people who have really good ideas, and those ideas do end up in the game on the whole. And it goes further than that. Sometimes we have a very small idea, and it blossoms, and it grows, and it ends up in the game. And I think Sven has a particular example of something that really demonstrates this. And yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I got this real cool button that I'm gonna hit right now for the first time. It's like, okay, you hit the right one. Yeah,
Ooh, world premiere.
Oh, I like a good world premiere. There you go.
Yeah, hold on. Wait until you'll see you see my other button.
What a cock tease.
We're a company that iterates a lot, as Adam said, and we give a lot of room for what is a good idea. So
Yeah, he looks like he's like glued in place,
this is
right?
only a couple of weeks ago, and I
Unzipped
picked this
pants.
example specifically because of that. One of our scripters transformed something that was a piece of scenery into an interactive object. And so we do these regular reviews of the content, and we're looking at this thing that's pretty cool. And so then the interactive object became a situation. And so we looked at that situation and said, oh, that's really cool. And then that situation became a scene where you can recruit a follower. And it said, whoa, this is really, really cool. And then now there's an entire movement within the company trying to make this follower into a companion, which is where I said, okay, stop. So we're not going to start doing, otherwise we're never going to end. But it's a very cool example of how the game gets better, how it gets evolves pretty much like a tabletop campaign would go together with the players. In this case, the players are the developers. And it's also something I'm very proud of what the team did, because you literally have to realize that what you're about to see right now, 2 weeks ago, did not exist. And it was just a stupid object somewhere sitting on the line of a Nautiloid. So I'm going to hit my button again, and then we're going to have a look at...
Hit your button, Sven. Hit it.
Oh, there's my button again. Our lobotomy scene. Let's look at it.
A lobotomy. Oof.
Yes, you've come to save us from this place. From this place, you'll free us.
The exposed brain
Oh.
quivers in expectation.
Please. Please. Before they return. They return. A newborn. Born new from this husk.
That's a bit graphic.
You realize you're talking to an intellect devourer, a minion of the mind flayers who abducted you.
I love you for your mind. Oof.
Remove us from this body. From this case, free us. Please.
Oh God, what is he gonna? Oh, he made it.
You notice edema, a swelling of the brain causing pressure where it strains against the shell of the skull. The brain lifts from the skull, but you notice an opportunity. You could cripple the strange creature, making it more subservient should it prove a threat.
Dude, the narration is great. That sounds like Malady, doesn't it? I'm betting money it is. Wow. Nice roll. Oh! What
The creature
the
seems
shit?
unaware of your interference. It relaxes in your hands.
We are free. Our freedom is ours, friend.
The creature pauses, listening. Something behind your eyes seizes in recognition.
We must go to the helm. At the helm, we are needed. Us. We are us. To the helm we go. We are going to the helm.
Yeah, the voice acting is on point.
Isn't that awesome?
Wow.
All right, well, we got to find out a little bit more lore about this friend, the Intellect Devourer. Chris, tell us about an Intellect Devourer.
First of all, that was super gross, but also awesome. Intellect Devourers are creatures made by mind flayers out of the brains of humanoids. The mind flayers have arcane rituals that they can cast upon the brain and then transform it into the creature that you saw. Now, what's dangerous about an Intellect Devourer, once it's been created, is it itself has these psychic powers and can psionically or psychically bombard you, causing your brain essentially to turn to slush. And then once it has destroyed the brain in your skull, it teleports into your skull, replaces your brain, and basically operates you like
Hey, Sven's got one right there.
Operating a
I got it. I'm trying to eat it, but my armor is
Oh my
stuck.
God, Sven.
An intellect power.
I got this awesome stuff from our props department. And so, hold on, because it even gets better. We're now selling them on shop.larian.com. Like, you can have little intellect. I'm kidding. It's not true. It's not true.
Okay.
Anyway, Chris, I interrupted you. Sorry.
No, that's totally cool. So what's obviously disturbing is you could be talking to somebody and not realize that their brain has been replaced with an intellect devour, and you're being to a meat puppet.
Not me, though.
All right.
So
I could be
the thing is,
intellect power.
there you go. Yeah, and so in BG3, actually, because of the tadpole that you have, you learn that you can actually communicate with all these Mind Flayer-related creatures, and you can command them. They can try to command you. So you got this entire interaction going on with them. But just going back to what I said before, I thought it was pretty amazing that the team managed to pull off this scene so fast. And it goes to show what we've been doing all these years as we've been working on BG3. We made this gigantic, how shall I call it, situation production machine, where if somebody comes up with a great idea, they can put it into the game fairly fast, link it to everything in there. They got a whole bunch of tools that support them. Because now that because that's what its name is in the tutorial, other characters had to react to it. Is it present in your party? Is us following you? So they need to start reacting to that. So that's the permutations that Adam was talking about. And that came about really fluently when you looked at it, how the development of it was going. And it goes from, I mean, this started with scripting.
I don't know how long it's been in production.
Jumped on it, then the entire art team jumped on it together with the animators, the cinematic guys, the sound guys, the voice guys. There's a lot of talent in just making that little scene that needs to be there. And I just find it amazing that they can get this, and it shows how far the studio has come actually since we started working on BG3 back in 2017. So we have now this huge machine that can support lots of choices, and we're heavily abusing it, let's put it that way.
Never-ending content. But yeah, that's a fun sequence, and obviously you guys have been building so much content that we're going to talk about. I mean, the amount of stuff that's in early access, we'll get to it, but I'm pretty blown away with what you guys have put together. So let's check in with our friend Crusher now and see what the audience wants to do next. We have the results of the poll in, and it looks like 41% of you picked to intimidate him with how about you kiss my feet instead. So,
Sven was right.
but the audience,
He was right. He knew it.
World.
14.
Who
Oof.
listens to me?
Yeah.
That's exactly what they deserve for not listening to me.
Sven.
Pretending you ain't got nothing on me, so kiss my foot.
I suggest an apology.
That's
I do
more
too.
like it.
Oh no. Slide the ring off its toe. Slide it off its toe.
I couldn't read what you did, Nick.
All right.
Give the foot a long lick. Lick
All right,
his
the
foot.
next choice there.
Fucking
4 more options.
lick his
So
foot,
again,
dude.
in the
Lick
chat,
that shit.
Take your pick there about how you want to kiss the foot, and then we will
Lick it,
we'll
bitch.
follow that up in a second and see what people select this time around. All right, so we've seen a glimpse of Avernus, goblins,
Finish
intellect
what you
devours.
started. Suck them
A lot of folks
toes.
watching this, I think, want to know early access. We're going to get a date out of you, but also like the content of a. What can we expect in terms of the scale and scope of what you're going to put out into the world for players to play around with, Sven?
I'll take this actually.
Okay, Adam. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm going to take it, Sven. I think that, as you say, you've already seen, just for early access, you've got multiple planes of existence. We're showing you Avernus. We're then taking you to Faerun, and when you get to Faerun, you're going to see dungeons and dragons, which you might expect. You're going to see temples. You're going to see a big chunk of gameplay on the surface world. A lot of it we haven't shown yet. You'll get to meet those goblins. You'll get to meet a lot of other people as well. And we've already teased the Underdark. He will be going to the Underdark. There's a lot to see. There's a lot of secrets and mysteries down there. There's a lot of danger down there as well. You're going to meet a lot of different characters. Some of them you may recognize if you're a D&D fan. You already met Volo previously, and he made a brief cameo, I think, earlier today for an eagle-eyed who spotted him. But you will meet lots of different characters, many different characters. You're going to see different factions, of which you'll recognize, some that we've invented ourselves. And of course, there's going to be a lot of monsters on the surface and in the Underdark. And those monsters include...
World premiere.
World premiere.
A Bulette. Now, Chris, could you tell us what a Bulette is?
Yeah. A Bulette is a terrifyingly large monster that sometimes goes by the name land shark. And what it does, as its name suggests, is it burrows under the ground just below the surface, churning up the earth as it goes while it hunts. And then when it sees something it wants to eat on the surface, it bursts up out of the ground to chomp on it. And it's big and terrifying. That's all I'll say.
I mean, you have so much content in EA. I know we were talking earlier. You thought it would be 20+ hours of stuff for folks to play around with. So lots of stuff to it. And I think people probably want to know also about the classes, like what classes are going to be available, what level we'll be able to reach in early access. Can you give us any kind of details there, Sven, on what we can expect?
Yeah and no. So because we are since we're still building the early access content, we're still slightly hesitant to announce all of the classes that are going to be in there. But I think that we should be able to cover at least a few of them. Chris, what did you play actually for the moment? What is it? What would you play?
So I often play rogues. I'm also a fan of fighters, and I like rangers because they're in touch with the primeval natural world.
All right.
Those are my favorites.
Well, we'll have all of those covered, so that's already something.
Oh.
And there will be more. So we'll have a action of classes that are going to be in there. We'll have quite a few races, quite a few sub-races. We don't know exactly how many are going to be there. It depends on a couple of assets. We are going to allow you to create your own custom character. So when you'll see character creation, we should be presenting it soon enough. You will see you get a lot of customizability. As a matter of fact, later on the stream, we'll show a bit of gameplay that I just stumbled upon by fooling around in character creation and like just picking an option and said, oh my god, I start with that and now I can do that, and that is really cool. So you'll be able to create a wide selection of custom characters. And we'll let you in early access play up to level 4. Now, before you go saying, what, only level 4? Level 4 in Dungeons & Dragons is actually quite a lot already. Can you maybe help us explain that, Chris?
Sure. Well, the good news is that you're not as frail as you were when you were level 1, so you can take a bit of punishment. But more importantly is once you get to level 4, you've already made some key character-defining decisions. For instance, your class, you've chosen a subclass, which is sort of like a way to specialize within your class. And not only have you chosen a subclass, but you've probably had the option to choose a feat, which is a mechanic that lets you further customize your character and gives your character access to new ability. And obviously, if you're a spellcaster, by the time you hit 4th level, you're starting to get some fairly interesting spells.
Can you handle a bullet?
Even at level 4. Yeah, I was going to say, you're still going to struggle when we throw a land shark at you. You're still going to get shot.
Yes.
But thankfully, you'll be traveling alone. In early access, there are 5 companions that you can recruit that you'll meet during your journey. I'll briefly mention who they are. You will have met some of them already if you've been following our development. But here's a quick rundown. So there's Will. He's a human warlock who might feel either very at home or very alarmed by where I am right now. The Shadowheart, who's a dark cleric on a mission from her goddess. Asterion, who's a very unusual character. He's a vampire spawn, so he has some unique mechanics. Lysel, who's a Githyanki warrior, who you see in the CGI intro. You see the Dragon Riders there as well. She's not with that group, but they are other Githyanki. So she knows a lot about Mind Flayers, so she's a very interesting character. And there's Gale, and Gale's a human wizard who has more things going wrong inside him than just a tadpole, but we'll say no more about that.
Now, with all these companions, I think everyone wants to know, can friends play companions? Are we going to get multiplayer in, at least in EA?
So not instantly. So we'll introduce it to play as one of the origin characters later on. That'll give people the opportunity to get to know the companions from a third-person point of view, if you want, just by recruiting them. Gotta say, depending on which companions you pick, we talked about permutations earlier, you'll get a completely different experience. Like if you, for instance, if you take Shadowheart and Lysel, they can't stand each other, so that gives you completely different dynamics than if you take characters that actually like each other. So you should be able to have a lot of fun fooling around with these things. And we will have multiplayer in there, so you will be able to play with a party of up to 4. You'll be able to play online, you'll be able to play in LAN. We won't have split screen available from the get-go, but that will be added at some point during development also. So there's going to be quite a lot of things that you can fool around with, because between the class choices that you have and the race choices that you'll have and the choice of companions that you can have, that's already when you start adding up all the permutations and you see what it means in game to have made those choices. That's already a lot of content that is going to be present in there.
Yeah. You talked a little earlier about still figuring out quite what classes will be available at EA. I mean, it's like there's still things to be done, but I know we're going to pin you down on a date.
They haven't announced a release date.
By the end of the stream, you promised. What is there left to do kind of between now and when you let the world in for early access on the game?
Right. So I don't think we're going to add much more characters like us last minute anymore. So that was just really because they were still working on the tutorial area. I have to say the tutorial area is not finished yet, so we need to finish that one. We got the Act 1 that Adam talked about, that's done. So all the content is there. We're still balancing. There's some assets like the bullet that we talked about earlier on. Right now it looks like a bear because it's using the placeholder for bear, but soon
which is terrifying when
it
comes out of the ground.
It's pretty cool actually. It chases you around the Underdark, so it comes out at the most inopportune of times. So it's rather interesting encounter, especially because it mingles with other encounters and you don't know when it's going to happen, and it's like it freaks the hell out of you because you're almost dead and then suddenly the bullet is there and you say no. So we'll see how that works in early access if people hate it or not. We're doing play tests now. And, actually, we have a bunch of people that are going to be passing by in the next couple of days, and so that will be going on until early access. We'll do balancing against them. We'll get rid of the most obnoxious UI things that might be in there that we have overlooked. So we'll try to fix the most prominent bugs. And then the last bit that is really, if there's one thing that at this point I think might cause a slight delay in addition to the date that I'm about to announce.
Oh my God! Here's the asterisk.
It's the asterisk. It's the optimization. So the game is coming out for both PC and Stadia. We want to get the minimum specs fairly low, so that a lot of people can already start fooling around with it. So there's a bunch of optimizations that need to happen, and optimizing is a very special profession. In the sense that every single time you optimize something, only then do you discover what the next thing is that you have to optimize. So these guys are literally driving blind in the realm of obstacles.
They did say that when the game comes out,
they're feeling moderately
if we play on Stadia, you guys will be able to make decisions, like vote on decisions, and they'll make them happen in game with a plugin. So that could be interesting. I don't even know if I'll have Stadia though.
So it's looking okay, and I'm optimist by nature, so I'm just going to stick to that, and so I hope that everything is going to work out
I was gonna say we still get dated. Don't pull the date at the end. We need to get dates.
No.
Obviously, there's so much to this. We will give you guys a date. Don't worry. But Sven's always super honest with everyone about stuff. So yeah, we want to talk a bit more. I think about the gameplay of what you're going to get in early access on Act 1. But before we do that, let's check back with Crusher to see what you guys picked. And based on the last prompt,
good idea, Ghost.
It looks like 65% of you picked to kiss his foot and attempt to steal the ring.
No,
so
I wanted them to lick it.
Ring heist. Yes, let's see how this goes down.
Fucking hell! Lick it.
Social distancing option.
Oh, I imagine they're getting paid big time by Stadia. Uh-oh. Failed.
Good riddance. You deserve all of that. You didn't listen to what I said.
Catch a whiff of lavender. It gives way to the muddy taste of something better left without discussion.
Ugh. Oh.
That disgusting, slimy, you stinking thief! I'll rip your fingers off.
Uh-oh.
You ruined that. All right.
That's
Well, Nick
what
is
you
going to have a
get.
lot of fun trying to get to the next section. Let's see if he's going to manage to do that. So there's as we're looking at this disaster in the making. Yeah, this is not gonna end well.
Gameplay.
Nick, I mean, I didn't introduce him. He's our lead system designer, so he might actually manage to get something sorted out. I wanted to chat about something as we'll let Nick in the background do combat. I wanted to chat about something that we didn't talk about yet.
Whoa.
Is how the early access content of Original Sin 2 compares to Baldur's Gate 3. Actually, it's a bit I wanted to talk about to give you an idea of exactly how much is in there. Can we? Are we going to watch the entire combat? You can cut away, I think, from it. It will take some time.
Let's let Nick deal with that on his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor
But I
guy.
know there's so much stuff. We were talking earlier about like the amount of dialogue and stuff in this early access compared to previous early access. Like there's a lot of content, right?
Thank you, Jeff. I wanted to drop that because I looked up the numbers and they're pretty impressive actually when you look at it. So Baldur's Gate 3 early access has 80 potential combats compared to 22 in or 2 as early access version. The dialogue lines in Original Sin 2, we had 17,600 lines in all of Act 1. We have 45,980 lines at the moment in BG3. When you look at the amount of spells and actions that are available from the get-go in early access, so for those two that was 69, and here we'll have 146. And then when you look at the amount of characters, and that's by far the most impressive one, in Original Sin 2, it was 142 characters that you encountered in Act 1. And here we have 596
Holy
in
shit.
BG3's early access version. So I'm saying these numbers because it doesn't mean that you're going to play that much longer when you're going to play the early access version of BG3 compared to those two, but it's just testimonial to the amount of choices that you're going to get to make, because you won't have to do those 80 fights. It depends on what choices you made.
They have 5 times the amount of characters because you have that many more outcomes.
It really depends on which paths you took, which class you selected, which companions you had, and so forth, which choices you made. And so but it is really like I thought Boss 2 was a very intellectually challenging already just to maintain
How the
overview.
fuck are we going to make a wiki for this game?
When you look at BG3, it's like it's so much, it's with such a higher level. I mean, I think Adam, maybe you can chat a little bit about what that means on your side, from the where you're sitting when you're writing these dialogues.
Yeah, I mean the number is important, obviously, but really what's important is that they're interesting, that they're quality, and that they are responsive to the way you play. So we don't want to deliver 45,000 lines of dialogue to you as a speech. We want you to discover them. We want you.
Does
to
anyone want to
interact
come
with them.
help
We want
work
these to
on
feel like
the Baldur's Gate 3 wiki that's
So
looking
you're
for a
gonna
job?
get, on a playthrough, the ones that feel right for
Anyone?
your playthrough. And I'm going to do something that I'm going to implore you all now. We know that most people tend to be good people when they play CRPGs. It's the metrics show us that. What I'm going to ask you to do is, if you play early access, use as an excuse to do the bad thing. I want you to be your worst version of yourselves, because some of my favorite situations and characters in this game you may not even speak to if you don't try those evil routes. We don't want this to be you clicking the hero button or you clicking the villain button. We don't want it to be like that. We want the world to react to the things you do, and we want you to have reasons for doing them. So if you're doing something terrible in this game, you can probably justify it because you're in a bad situation. But you can also just be really bad. And when you're going to meet some of these, how many characters? 596. Some of those characters you'd never speak to. Some you just kill if you're playing the good option. And
you want to be paid in nudes.
Stories to discover. So I beg of you, be evil just this once, but be good in your lives.
Early access is a really good opportunity for this.
It is.
I was going to say.
It's a good place to explore these things. Yeah. And this all goes back to us approaching this game and trying to be as close as we can to like your digital DM. And I think, Chris, you know, this is something that is true with Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop role-playing in general. It's a place where, you know, people gang together. They want to be heroes sometimes, and sometimes they just want to burn the world, right?
Oh, we lost Chris there.
Lost Chris's audio for a second. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was muted. My dog was
I've never done that. Never done
so
that.
I muted myself. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. Flirting with evil has been a part of D&D since the beginning. It's good not to be evil because evil parties tend to implode, but once in a while, it can make the story go in a fascinating direction.
I want to play evil now. They've convinced me. Have you guys convinced?
One thing that, you know, we talked about options, obviously good versus evil playthroughs, but let's also talk about permutations.
Sven's table just looks
the further
amazing.
expanded set of options in the game. How is that going to work in the game in terms of permutations and choices?
So it begins. It starts like for us. It's like we're inviting you into our world, into our campaign, into the world of Dungeons and Dragons. And from the minute that you choose your class and your race, we're paying attention as writers and as designers. And the world's going to react to that. It's going to react to who you are at the beginning of your adventure. But more importantly, and the more complicated part, is it's going to react to the things that you do. Your party is going to react to the way that you behave. Your party is going to react to each other. They're going to have these complicated relationships that develop. What we want to do is we want the world to always be aware of you. So it's a lot of work to make sure that you get all that, and that's what we mean by permutations. We mean reactivity. We mean a world that makes you feel like you're really part of it, and that we've invited you in and we've let you play with it, and it will react to you, not just tell you its story. It's a lot of work, and if you think of it from a DM perspective, we have this huge detailed world that we created, all these different quests and storylines. And what happens sometimes is you invite somebody like Sven into them, and they do something that you didn't expect, and something which says, oh, you know what, I'm not going to engage with this stuff, I'm going to do something completely different. This is what Sven discovered the other day.
Yeah,
you want to tell me what you did, Sven?
I was fooling around with character creation, and I always want to see how I can break the game. That's pretty much my job description. And so I picked a ranger, and so I had a class passive that I could select. So I picked beast taming because I read that it was going to give me a cantrip, which allows me to find a familiar. And I always liked familiar, so I said, well, I want a familiar. So let's try it out and see what damage I can do with my familiar. And I liked it because level 1 character here, I instantly could go and get a recruit that familiar. And so, Nick, can you fire that up? Is that going to work out? Yeah. All right. Nick has 2 machines that he's operating, so he's about to report on how his combat went. I think it went disastrous. So here you see him summoning a spider. So he has a whole bunch of familiars that he could have picked. He could have picked a crab or a cat or a raven or something more interesting. But the spider is also pretty cool. And the thing is that he can then take control of the spider. And so that's the thing that I started fooling around with. I actually took that spider I went the entire other side of the world. And so I went with my spider and I listened in on conversations and I went to look at what all the evil guys were up to. And the amazing thing was that in general, it actually worked. And so that was pretty cool. So I called, can you do a little jump, Nick? Because the spider has this really cool jump. And remember the game of verticality. So just that ability, the ability to jump far as a spider, that alone already allows you to do a whole bunch of things. But the spider can also cause mayhem. Can you go in and bite maybe? So this is a little bit further. There's a character called Shadowheart. She's one of your companions.
Oh my
so
god, this is this part of the game?
Her leg or something. Here we go. Up. Oh, shit.
Crit.
Critical hit.
Oh, she didn't. She didn't feel it. Do it again, Nick.
Oh my god.
Oh, she doesn't react. She's supposed to react. Oh no, it's failing live. Oh, okay, so she's reacting. I guess she didn't feel it through her chainmail there.
Game development.
Things like we chatted actually after me doing it, and I said, are you going to put a leash on this? Because that's normally what a developer would do, right? They would say, oh, okay, well, you can't allow this to do. It's going to break the entire game. You have to make sure that you can maximum go 20 meters away or some silly rule like that. And so we looked at each other and I said, nah, we're just going to leave it in there. I mean,
yes.
For the most cases.
And
so
this is
let's
why I
use
love
scripts to
Larian.
make it work across the entire game. And so the one limitation that we put on there is that the spider can't go through doors. So that's it. They can't open doors. Obviously, they would be able to go through doors, but with them to do level transitions. But other than that, you can take your familiars. You can take a cat. You can send your cat somewhere, and then you can get the cat to... what's it called? Draw people's attention. It has a different name, but draw people's attention so that people start looking at the cat, which is great for your rogue as he's sneaking through somewhere in the dark. So all this systemic
Dude, that's amazing.
Play. Just by that one little choice, you know, I just selected beast taming. It gave me a cantrip, find familiar, and now I have all these new options. So now imagine that you're playing in multiplayer and you're doing all these crazy things. And now imagine that you're the script who have to think of all the permutations that are going with this. And so that is one of the things when we're talking about permutations. But we have more actually. Nick, could you manage to get yourself into a situation with, he has all these save games. And so, can you get into a situation with animal empathy or an animal talking while maybe Chris explain to people what the difference is between animal handling and speaking with animals? No, wait, we'll let Chris explain it first. Can we jump back to Chris, please? Yeah, we can't hear him. Oh, we're muted. No, you're muted, Chris.
Animal handling. You can hear me now, though, right? Yeah.
Yes.
You're back.
So
yeah.
animal handling is a skill in D&D, and you use it to convince animals to do things. And it's not like you're communicating with them specifically. These are animals you're not talking to. You're just saying, okay, there's a horse over there that doesn't like me. I want to change its mind about me. Or there's a wolf that wants to eat me. I'm going to try to persuade it not to, or maybe feed it some other food and convince it to leave me alone. Those are great uses for the animal handling skill. Whereas Speak with Animals, the spell, allows you to have a two-way conversation with a beast.
Yeah. And so when we were starting to prepare development for the game, we looked at animal handling, and we obviously had done a game in which you could speak with animals with Divinity Original Sin, and say, so what are we going to do? Are we going to put animal handling in, yes or no? Because it actually means we need 3 dialogues. And we need the dialogue when you click on an animal where you're just not handling the animal. We need the dialogue that you're handling the animal. We need the dialogue that you're speaking with the animal. So it means every single animal is going to come with at least 3 dialogues, not counting the permutations that are going to come out of this. And so then we looked at each other and said, well, we have no choice, really. We have to do all of it. And so this is how we brought animal handling to the game, as many other things. And so we'll have a look at what animal handling looks like.
Jesus, how are they ever going to finish this game?
For Chris,
there's no way this game's coming out next year. It has too much. It has too much to do. It's basically just throws you in, and whatever you think of can be done.
Oh, yeah, I would allow it, because an owlbear, even though it's classified as a monstrosity in the D&D game as opposed to just an ordinary beast, it has a very animal-like brain. So yeah, I would definitely allow it.
Excellent, because that's literally what we said. And so
I was gonna say, it's
Nick
like
versus the owlbear.
So I love owlbear. You know, you've got living things you can speak to, obviously. Owl bears, spiders.
We're gonna see the owlbear, right?
We should see the
Oh,
owl
we can
bear.
show it?
Can we cut to the owl bear?
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Can we keep in mind as you
An
watch
owl
this, that
spider?
Chris just
What the
referred to
fuck?
This as a monstrosity.
Although it's
Yeah,
What
You
is
don't know
he
what the role is
controlling
gonna be.
a child?
Oh.
Oh, it's
You feel the quake of its heavy
it's
footsteps.
what do you call it?
All see it.
What do you call it? Halfling, yeah. Gnome.
so awesome.
Out of the darkness.
I thought it was the kid from the back. Oh my god, this character is amazing.
Wow, this is cool.
He's gonna try animal handling now. So
Oh, he
if had
passed
stupid
it!
Animals he could have talked to.
Yeah.
The owl
All
bear's
right.
one good eye flicks away for a moment.
I cannot wait to play this. Holy shit. Early access is gonna ruin my life. I'm gonna spend every time.
Oh.
She's got an owlbear
Yeah.
cub.
So we're not gonna spoil everything tonight.
Oh,
So
you
that's
fucking
the,
cock tease.
The Owlbear Cup, if you manage the situation really well, leads up to multiple other situations in which you find that Owlbear Cup. And if you really, really play your cards well and your dice roll well, then you can actually recruit that Owlbear Cup in your camp, and then you can see the things that happen in your camp. Now, it wouldn't be BG3 if what happens with the Owlbear Cup in the camp depend on what other animals you brought there. So the Owlbear Cup could create quite a lot of havoc.
Oh
So if you
my
pay for a pet
God.
dog there, it
How?
might be that you wake
How
up
are
one
they
morning
going
and
to
your
do
favorite
this?
pet dog might have had a small accident. So these are things that you need to
Game
take
of the
into
decade?
consideration as
Fucking
you're playing
hell.
the game. But they're the cool, fun situations that roll out. And all of this is brought to you cinematically also throughout the entire game. And that's where those well, not only where those 45,000 lines of dialogue come from, because we have yet another example of things that bloated our dialogue counts.
yeah.
And maybe you want to chat about that one, Adam.
I was gonna say, it's like
Yeah,
there's even
so
more,
you can-
right?
Yeah, no, like we thought if you can speak to the animals, you can do the animal handling, you can speak to all these different creatures, you can speak to goblins, you can speak to people, you can speak to Githyanki, and then we thought, well, there are other things that you can speak to in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, and that's dead things.
Yeah, the wiki is going to
we
be
also
absolutely
aligned
insane. I don't even
dead because we
understand.
didn't have enough
It'll be
dialogue
the most
already.
used wiki of all time
And
if we can
thankfully,
actually
Dungeons and
finish it
Dragons
ever.
does have a rule for that. So Speak with Dead is implemented in the game. If Chris, you could just explain how that works in 5th edition.
Yeah, so this is necromantic energy, and it allows you to ask questions, to 5 questions of a corpse. Now, the corpse needs to be relatively intact so that it has like a
Oh
working mouth or
my
something. it can use.
god.
That's one condition. The other, of course, is the corpse only knows things that happened prior to death.
So
It's
on top of that, you can
not
talk to
somewhat limited.
corpses.
Also, the corpse is not always necessarily friendly to you, and as precise an answer as you want.
So when we were implementing this,
Chris,
we-
you cut away from me there. Did
Oh,
you guys
okay.
hear Chris? I didn't hear him. You're back
Yeah,
now.
he's back.
This game
He's
will
back.
never
We're
be
back alive.
finished.
Okay, there's nothing wrong on my end. It was just something in the system, I guess. But I was going to say,
Yeah.
so Speak with Dead is a spell that lets you talk to a corpse. And you can ask it 5
because
questions. Go on.
Oh my god, what's happening?
Yeah,
We're good?
sorry.
All right.
You're good. We
I'm
can hear you
using
now, Chris.
necromantic
So,
energy
Speak
to
with Dead.
communicate across the void. So yeah, so it's 5 questions, and the head needs to be intact. And we could have gone the route of just making sure that everyone who died had their head explode, or you decapitated them. We didn't. So there are a lot of dead people that you can talk to in the game. And we've implemented as close as to D&D rules as we could, and we've got a pretty cool take on it, I think. And I think we can look.
Oh my
at one
god,
of
my
the
mind is fucking blown right now. It's fucking blown.
That is correct.
I just don't understand how they can possibly
So
write
this is actually on
and
the
voice
very
all
beach
that.
where you will
And
crash with your Nautiloid after you play
How
the
would there be no
tutorial
bugs
So
and-
we've shown
oh
this
my
area
fucking
before. But
Jesus.
there's bodies lying there, and so he's going to take a scroll, Speak with Dead, and then he's going to have a chat. And so
they did it with Divinity 2, yes, but this is 5 times the NPCs. Think about that.
Marcus, fisherman.
Think about that for a second. If BG3 has 5 times the
Obviously,
choices as Divinity 2,
Came quick, trying to help folk.
is that not just mind-blowing?
I personally wouldn't have wasted my scroll to this guy, Nick. I don't think that was a really good idea. But anyway, so again, we're not going to start spoiling things too much because we do want players to discover things for themselves. But so when you add all of these things, now suddenly that number of 45,000 starts making sense.
Yeah, in Act 1 he said there were 5 times
all of the different types of playthroughs that you can have of the content.
Yeah, plus
so
it has proper cutscenes where it
reactive game with a lot of choices that are made available to you as a player. In this particular case, Chris, which classes can you use Speak with Dead as? Because not everybody can use Speak with Dead, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you have a spell scroll, that's really handy. But a cleric, for instance, is very handy with Speak with Deads. And so
imagine being a
party. That's
if they have a DM mode for this game. Imagine that.
So that's another example of how which classes you have in your party actually define what gameplay options are going to be available to you. So. And when the full version of the game is going to release, when we'll have all classes in there, it's going to become very, very hard to get out of character creation because you'll have to make some decisions that will have lots of ramifications as you go across the game. I got news from Crusher, so it didn't end well.
Goblin Camp.
What's the latest? What's the?
So I'm picking up that he died miserably. All right, and so he hasn't been able to get back into the situation that he. So we're not going to see the end of Crusher, unfortunately. So that's going to bring me probably closer
that's amazing.
to one of the problematic things, which is going to be the release date, I guess. Is that correct?
Because exactly, this was the awkward part of the stream. But we are going to do
they killed him.
A Q&A at the end for the community as well. So if you guys have questions for these guys. That's your next interactive thing to do in chat. Is you're not going to get to pick the final question moment, but you can throw a question at these guys. So put those in the chat, and then at the end we'll come back and do some Q&A with these guys as well on what happened. But yes, we are going to talk about the early access release date in a minute here. But let's talk like philosophically about early access. You're here addressing many of the fans watching are folks that are going to be, I'm sure, jumping into early access. What does that kind of mean to you as a studio? Like, how early access is a term that people throw around in a bunch of different ways.
Good going, community.
Sometimes it's just literally a marketing beta or something. I mean, I know that you guys treat this part of the development of the game. Can you maybe talk a bit, Sven, like philosophically about like what you're looking as a studio to get out of early access? You'll get feedback, sure, but like how is it going to affect the game and your approach to finishing it up to 1.0?
I like that you're asking me these philosophical questions with a brain in my hand, so it's really cool.
That's it.
So
to be or not to be.
So yeah, I know. So we did early access for Original Sin 1, and we liked it a lot because it helped us make Original Sin 1 a much better game. So we went full in for Original Sin 2 in early access, and that made Original Sin 2 a much better game. And so we're hoping to get the same out of early access for BG3. So we're going to go into early access, and we intend to stay there for a while as we improve everything that our community doesn't like about it. Everything that we see is problematic, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to, and on the one hand, we're going to do a whole bunch of analytics, and on the other hand, we're going to listen to what the community is telling us. And so the analytics, we use tools for that show us things. I mean, I think we have some heat maps.
The Eternal Warrior is my favorite build.
Yeah, you showed me this. This is so cool.
Titleist.
Yeah. So what are we looking at there?
So that's for those two. That's a heat map of the early access part of Act 1, and that's where people were dying. So if you play those two and you look at the lower part on the left side, there's a big red spot. That's a guy named Migo. Everybody who played those two will remember Migo because everybody pretty much died there. So you could see that everything.
You're damn right. Everyone died at Migo. He absolutely wrecked people.
So if the entire map becomes red, it means that we have problems. If we see, and then typically we're going to lower the difficulty of a fight. If we see that there's areas where nobody's coming, and then we say, okay, this is too hard to find, so maybe we should give a little bit of hints, and then we modify the level design a little bit.
That's clever.
So it's things like that. But then it's also things like are spells being used? Or maybe we should promote a class and explain to people, well, you can do these things. Do they actually figure out that they can speak with the dead? Maybe they never figure it out because they don't think it would be possible. So we then tell them through a tutorial box, hey, you can speak with the dead. We spend like this amount of thousands of dialogue lines on it. Please try to speak with the dead. It's pretty cool. New gameplay options and so forth. So that's the analytic part, but then there's also the qualitative part where we just engage with the community, not necessarily directly on the forums, but we do read them, and then we use what they tell us to drive internal debate over how will we change things. Like one of the really big examples from Original Sin 2 was we had this thing called durability. People hated it vehemently. They really, really hated it. They like hated it intensely. And so they came up with a whole bunch of arguments, and so eventually we listened to it. We were stubborn, but we eventually listened and made a better game out of it. And so hopefully the same thing is going to happen here with BG3, because it's certainly not easy to translate a rule book that's been around for some time, that has so much fans, into a video game, and then trying to do justice to the rule book, but also make sure that the video game is a lot of fun. So we have to find a very fine line in between there, and there's many, many possible interpretations. And so we came up with our interpretation, but now we'll let the community
What's the clunking sound?
judge it. And then if they come up with better ideas,
is it Disarmor?
So with the Intellect Devourer, we'll just adapt and we'll put it in there. I mean, in the end, it is about, I guess, creating a story with the community, creating a game together with the community, just like what you do, I think, Chris, right? So if you're creating your campaigns, you go along with what people tell you.
Exactly. D&D is a shared storytelling game. So the best ideas come from all around, you know.
This is their live stream. Lyrians were broadcasting it.
Yeah,
Excellent.
So this is literally
yeah, well, I'm sure the community. But
I was just going to say, we know
this is the most
where our
ambitious
story's
game
going,
I've ever seen, and I thought
know,
Cyberpunk was the most ambitious game.
Terrible and wonderful ways that this story can end, and the different places it'll take you to. But as storytellers, we want the audience to be part of that, and that works for me as a writer within Larian. You know, people play my work every day, people look at my work every day, and you become better through that. You become better by listening, you become better by engaging, and storytelling is very collaborative. So if there are characters, just as in a tabletop campaign, if there are characters that people particularly love or particularly hate, then we may notice that. And you know, it's already happening. We're not even in early access yet, but we see you guys talking, and we see the things that amuse you and that you're interested in, and you know, we do pay attention.
Yeah. So it's
you know, many of the people. You're on, Sven.
No, you're on.
Many
Jeff.
people want to know with the you know, early access.
Say early access is going to be
stream, I'm sure,
not 5 times larger, but we'll have 5 times
probably jump into EA
the option. So you might not see some
early
of them.
access for. And when you think of it, I mean, it obviously is not a finished game, but something that I know you want to get as many people in to play it. But in terms of setting expectations and kind of the audience for it, who are you targeting for early access? If there's like a prototypical player you'd want in early access.
Yeah, so so I know who we're not targeting. It's the person who wants a finished, polished game. They should wait. They should just wait until version 1.0 because we'll work very hard on making it as polished as we can, but it's not that yet. Early access is for fans who want to have a quick look, like an early feel of what it's going to be like, and there's a lot of fun to be had. There's a lot of stuff to be seen already. So I think that that's one group. And then it's also for people who really want to be part of development, who just want to give us as much feedback as they can, who will play over and over, and will just engage with us in the forums and just give us lots of data to look at, and also give us lots of ideas to work with. And so we have a lot of those
pre-order
in the
to get
past,
early access, I'm pretty sure.
for both of the Original Sins. So we're hoping we'll see that with BG3 also. And it will be those people that will drive the game to become much, much better than hopefully it already is. I think it's already pretty good, but I know it can be that much better once people start playing it and we see literally, okay, well, we didn't think of that, that button should be there, it should not be there, that kind of thing. These fights are too hard. Hey, why did nobody ever think of this idea? Like, why didn't we put this in there? So when we put that group thinking into it, you will get a much better game, and we're committed to listening and integrating stuff.
Yeah, it's
it will
co-op.
take us some time, of course. We can't just magic it out of out of thin air, but we will be listening and we will be integrating things that we see are make sense or we think are going to be good for the gameplay. Not everything, because we can't do everything, a lot for sure.
They haven't
No,
given a
and
release date
the
yet. I
fact
think
that
they're
you've
holding it
got
to the end.
20 plus hours of content in there. I mean, this is, a very, meaty experience for fans that they can't wait to jump into. And again, the production value looks incredible with all, the cinematics and dialogue and everything. So I think we're almost at that point, Sven, where I think you need to get that world premiere button ready, because are you ready to tell the world when early access is coming?
Yeah, I guess so.
No, early access is about 20 hours, they said.
Oh, no.
I hit the wrong one?
Oh my god, no, this is too
Oh, he's such a troll. He was
That's my cue to
fucking
get out of
trolling
here.
them. He trolled the shit out of them.
World premiere.
World?
Oh, it's the wrong one.
World
Well,
premiere.
anyway.
What?
Let me do it properly. All right, so.
World premiere.
There you go. So the date that we're targeting for the moment, and we think we have a really good chance of hitting, is September 30th. So on September
30th!
hopefully you will find a game that's going to be fun to play from day one. It will still see a lot of improvements. That is waiting for your feedback, waiting for your data, and in which, if anything, you should really try playing as an evil character and see all the cool things that are going to happen to you, because it has an enormous amount of permutations, because what we said, the word permutations a lot. So September 30th for PC and for Stadia simultaneously, and
3-0, not 3-1.
All right.
30th, right? I mean, like,
There you say it's going to be.
Yes,
clipped
that's
out
for
on
early
Twitch,
access.
So you got to stick to it now. But
Yeah.
all right, so end
I'll
of
try.
September.
Early access on September 30th.
For early access. But again, I think the scale of what you guys are doing. When we first started talking to you guys about this earlier this year, I was amazed how far along you guys were with the game, and then the fact that you're going to hit with this, the Act 1 content in 6 weeks is amazing. So I think we all can't wait to see everything that's in there. We've got a bunch of questions for you guys that we've been grabbing from the streams on Twitch and YouTube from fans. So the community conversation, you guys are always great about talking to the fans, but I'm just going to go through some of these for you guys based on what the fans are saying, and just get some reactions here for maybe the next 15 minutes or so. So let's just jump into them. The first one comes from Matthias on YouTube, and he says, what have you guys done to preserve the D&D tabletop spirit in BG3?
you want to pick it, Adams?
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, I mean, it's across the entire studio is this bringing it to life. So I talk a lot about this idea of being your DM, and that's really, really true. That's that comes from the heart. We want you to feel as if you're playing with us. Not that we're just telling you our story, but that you're playing it with us. And that's very, very true to my experience with tabletop D&D. And then there's all the people who are far, far smarter at this stuff than me, who are working to interpret systems, spells, classes. It's an incredible amount of work. And I live in D&D now. I spend my days reading lore. I spend my days going back into the history. This is the world I live in right now. And sharing it is a real
yeah, it's coming out on
privilege,
Steam and Stadia.
It's such an expansive and brilliant place, and you can already see with some of the choices we've made. We want to explore the strange corners. We want to go to Avernus. We want to put you on a Nautiloid. We want to really bring this to life for all of you.
You've also tapped into some very classic monsters too, like the Mind Flayers, the Owlbears,
Yes, yeah.
Bullets, the Intellect Devourer.
I mean,
these are a lot of monsters we haven't seen an Intellect Devourer in a game before. So this is already we're seeing something from classic D&D brought to life for the first time. It's great.
Yeah.
An Owlbear,
maybe
bear
I would like to add. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a very, very, very strong push and a lot of pressure actually inside the studio to reward players' agency regardless of what choices they made. Make sure that there's always something for them. And so when you put what just said, and actually what Chris just said also, making sure that all those iconic creatures and locations are coming into the game. When you put all of that together, you feel like you're playing, hopefully, a tabletop session with a virtual game master, and that just reacts naturally to whatever your choices were as a party. And it's great in multiplayer, but it's also great in single player.
Awesome. All right, next question comes from Twitch, and this is from the T-Boys. And this person wants to know, which I think is a great question, what kind of feedback are the most helpful for you guys from early access? What is the best method for gamers to share their thoughts
This is a great
and
question.
impressions
Great question.
with Larian? So how do you guys want people to, they're obviously super devoted to helping you guys here. What's most helpful?
Okay, so just playing is already very helpful. So you don't have to do anything because we are, well, actually, oh yeah, I lost my ear. So I'm going to have to put back the ear because I can't with the armor. But just playing with, well, I still have the left ear, so I can hear you more.
Oh my God! Here comes
if you
the
just
helper.
play the game, and you, yeah, you're going to be on the camera. If you click on yes, I want to send data to Larian. The only data that we're getting is data from in the game or data when you crash. That is already super helpful.
He failed the role.
If you want to go further, there's a variety of ways that you can reach us. You can reach us on social media. You can reach us on our own forums, the Larian forums. You can reach us on the Steam forums. You just basically write your thoughts there. We will pick it up. We have a community team, and they're looking at everything that people are.
Oh, this is amazing.
Are saying and doing. And so
I love that he's
analyze
just
this.
pretending it's not even happening.
You can rest assured that somebody in our Slack channel is going to tell us like, that was a great idea. You should really listen to that. And so that is yes, that is a thing you're going to, a way that you will be able to reach us.
And in a much less professional sense, I lurk everywhere. I absorb your memes. I love them. Please keep giving them to us. I watch you. I listen to you. But that's just me.
Over encumbered.
Also. We are definitely looking.
Oh man, the armor jokes are just flying.
So, that one too.
I'm sure there's going to be lots of folks giving feedback. There's also a question that just came in from Discord. They're a popular place to talk about it. This is from the Wizard, and Wizard wants to know: will you add more races and classes during EA? Or is what we get the first day all we can try out? Great question about sort of how early access is going to evolve, at least from a content perspective. What can you share about that?
Okay, so yeah, no, classes are going to be added throughout EA. Companions will be added, races will be added, features will be added. So a lot of the stuff that we advertised is present in early access, but there's more that we haven't advertised yet. And so you will see things pop in. And at the same time, you'll see the game change as we take the feedback into account, whatever the feedback is going to be. So I can't predict it up front, but you will see a lot of change. If you want to have a litmus test of that or a point of reference, you just look at what we did to Original Sin 2. You just try to play Original Sin 2 in early access as we released it, and then look at the game that it's now. And so all the change that happened to it, that's something that can happen to BG3. But all of the content that gets added to it also, I mean, like Original Sin 2, I think like every month stuff was being added. And so you'll see similar things happening with BG3.
Awesome. Next question comes from YouTube. Verity wants to know, will there be romance options? What can you tell us about romance in the game?
Go ahead, Adam.
Yes, there will. I don't want to take
depends on the game, Ghost,
because we don't want to get into too much spoiler territory. Romance is best discovered, by yourselves. You don't want me to describe your romance to you. You want to experience it. But yes, romance is a huge part of the game. The campsite gets a little bit hot at times. That's absolutely true. You'll discover some of it in early access, but yeah.
It's literally one that we want you to discover, but we actually went quite far in everything that we put in there, so people will find it as they're playing the game.
I had no doubt that you have literally everything, although this next question is a good one, which I don't know if you've thought of or it's possible. Victor on YouTube wants to know, can we pet the brain?
Yeah, with your thumb. You saw that.
That's a good...
That's an important question. I was thinking the same thing.
I was going to say, there'll be a Twitter account, can you pet the brain?
You probably will be able to tomorrow now, so...
Pet the brain.
I was going to say, you guys are listening. There's still 6 weeks till early access comes out. Another question comes from YouTube. about backgrounds for the custom characters. So, tell us a bit about that. Like how much can you pick or build out kind of a, background or origin story for characters?
I can't remember the last time I bought a strategy guide, Ghost.
So there's a bunch of backgrounds in the game. So they have systemic benefits, which are going to help your characters throughout the game. What we didn't do, because we did start with it actually, we had backgrounds actually also give you a whole bunch of options. But then as we started implementing the dialogue, we actually had quite a lot of problems with that because folk hero, for instance, you got a tag option inside of a dialogue that says folk hero. And then the question from the writer was, yeah, but sure, but why are you a folk hero? What did you do as a folk hero? How did you get here as a folk hero? And so from the dialogue option point of view, the background options that were put into the game, we focused heavily on the classes and the races, and obviously on the things that you've done and earned throughout the game. But we didn't put the backgrounds in there, but at the systemics level, backgrounds do have an impact across all of your classes.
Okay.
Wow, that's crazy. So it's not just background, it's what kind of background.
You sort of hinted at this earlier. For Lark Arn wants to know, have all the recruitable companions been revealed, or are there more to come? And will the roster be comparable to previous Baldur's Gate games? It sounds like there will be more added, right?
Yeah, there will be more. There won't be as many as the previous Baldur's Gate games because we put a lot of extra stuff on our companions if you compare it. Just the relationship, because we have when people will see and they'll start playing it, you'll see the enormous amount of relationship options that are there and how far they go. So there will be less, but there are more coming. As a matter of fact, Adam is working very hard on his, and that one is not in the game yet. So not announced either. And we'll just shut up.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited about it. I would talk about it all night, but obviously I cannot. So.
All right. Next batch of questions here. And both these questions are about roles, and they come from YouTube and Kranen. Will there be a combat log that shows the roles occurring? And also, are there stats with modifiers that get added to dialogue roles? What can you tell us about that, guys?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
All right. Simple yes answer. I think that's good news.
Yeah.
All right, and then we've got.
Yeah.
I'm writing some of your guys' questions down, by the way.
And then we got one more question for you guys. Let's see. This one comes from Robert Fulmer on YouTube, and he says, "How interactive will the world be? For example, could I shoot a chandelier and it fall on enemy?" Very specific example, but the idea of dynamic environments, emergent gameplay. You guys obviously are building an amazing sort of systemic world, so I imagine there are some great emergent moments. What are the kinds of things we can expect in EA, or what are some of those opportunities?
Well, you can. I think I demonstrated that in the previous gameplay stream, actually. Oh no, I didn't show it. Yes, right. It was in another. So yes. No, I never showed it. Yeah. So the answer is yes. Yes. So it's like yes.
World premiere.
World premiere.
You can actually have a cool scene that we demonstrated to press at some point, and where that was literally the thing that saved the day in that particular battle. So and so there's other stuff like that that's coming in.
I want to quickly modify to finish. Robert asked, could I shoot a chandelier and it fall on my enemy? It's very important to note that you can also shoot a chandelier and it falls on your friend. Very important to note that.
It's also important that you can actually jump on your enemy. If you were a spider, you can just jump from the top on the enemy and then just do damage to the enemy if you want.
Very authentic D&D experience, all of that.
Exactly, yeah.
I was gonna say, you guys have thought of it all. Well, I have to say, it's awesome that we date for early access, end of September. You're on the record with that. It looks incredible, right? Just the production value of what you guys have been able to do, especially, with that many dialogue lines in the middle of, a pandemic with all the recording. I can't imagine what's gone into all the cinematic stuff and obviously the gameplay to get it to a point where you're comfortable enough to have people jump in for, 20 plus hours of gameplay is pretty incredible. So September 30th on the record, we will see everyone, I guess, starting in Hell for early access on Baldur's Gate 3 and Act 1. Want to thank Sven and Adam for putting this stream together, and the whole team really at Larian for the incredible work to put things together. And Chris, thanks for joining us as well. The one guy that wasn't in Hell today. Having great fun on this, and yeah, this is a big moment for all of us that early access is coming. So, anything else we should keep in mind before we say goodbye here, Sven?
No, I mean, like, just if you want to stay tuned, follow us on our social media. It's coming for PC Stadia, September 30th. Be sure if you buy it that it's something that you want to play, that you want to participate in. Otherwise, just wait until 1.0. It'll take some time, but when 1.0 is going to hit, it's going to be pretty good. That's it, I guess.
I gotta say, it's I've done a lot of live streams this summer, but I have to say you take the cake in terms of the setup and the fire and the armor.
Oh my God! Look at his picture. It like
froze.
Oh no, Jeff! What happened to your face?
Sven is ready for the feast. You light the candles after.
Oh my God, no!
The people who decorated this, the people behind the scenes, thank you to everyone. This is hard.
Oh yes, cut away, brilliant.
Times, we are socially distancing, we are COVID compliant. It takes a lot of work to put
Jeff's
this together. Thanks to everyone who helps out with that as well. Really appreciate
Agreed.
it.
It's
Thanks for sending me to Hell, guys.
You're going to give people something to check out. End of September. So September 30th, early access for Baldur's Gate 3. Thanks for watching the stream, and stay tuned to the Larian socials for more updates on that early access day in Baldur's Gate 3. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Sven. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
All right, see you guys soon.
Bye.
Wow, I feel bad for Jeff Keighley. He's going to be a meme in the morning. So don't go anywhere, guys. Sven should be over here shortly on our channel to talk more BG3. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Let me just get this set up. Do-do-do. Oh, the music's loud. I'm gonna turn it down. Okay. I guess we'll just wait for Sven. Let me ping him and find out what's happening. Yeah, this is footage from back in February, so the game doesn't look quite like this.
Abilities. Magic.
Yeah, it's gonna take him a minute to get out of that armor, so just stay tuned. He should be here shortly. Dude, can you hear the game volume, by the way? Do I even have it on? I don't even know if it's on. Okay, alright.
Running water. Better not push my luck. A waste of perfectly good blood.
Oh, nice. I love the crystalline cleric. That's such a great build. Oh, hang on. What's happening here?
Bloody doors! Blasted doors, What? Oh.
Yeah, we're gonna have a VOD up on YouTube.
I saw you on the ship. You survived, then?
Suddenly I saw what she saw, felt what she felt. Anger, confusion, resolve.
Ah! You've got the same thing I do. In your head. I felt it. What's the matter with you? Has that tadpole scrambled your brain already?
Echo in the gameplay sounds?
Come on.
Is there echo?
The chase through hell? The creatures? What they did to us? The tadpole?
Maybe you have two windows open?
That thing is going to consume us from the inside and turn us into mind flayers. You and I...
He's only going to be on here. We're not going to have, like, a ton of time.
ways in this
So,
wilderness.
here, I'll tell you what. I'll just turn the
We'll
audio
need
off for
supplies.
this. Speed
I'm
up the audio
hoping
anyway.
something of use might be behind these doors. But I've barely made a dent in them so far.
Did that mute it or no?
I was thinking the same thing.
Actually, let me
Around the top of this cliff, perhaps.
turn it down.
Hopefully there's no more of these creatures along the way.
Okay, I've had word they're getting him set up.
Or just company for our final moments. But you're right. Whatever lies ahead will be a little less daunting with support. You can call me Shadowheart. Very fun.
We're getting set up, we're getting set up.
Bugbear. We'll get along just fine. Lead the way, Astarion.
This seems as good a place as any to make camp. And rest. Huh. Might as well adapt to the Daywalker's ways.
Hang on just a second.
There are lit fuses in our heads. Sooner or later, they're going to blow. Each hour that passes, the thing inside us grows. We need to find a healer. Let's wake up at first light. Maybe we'll get lucky. We're overdue some good fortune.
Okay, we're getting set up.
We'll need our strength.
Why doesn't the character have... I wonder if it... I turned the volume way down because we're going to have Sven on in a second and I didn't want him talking over the game's audio. So, that's why it's so low.
Since then I've been kidnapped by mind flayers, chased through hell by dragons, and fallen from the sky. And I felt the sun on my skin. I should have burst into flames. The worm in my head might not even have an appetite for undead meat. Until I knew more about the tadpole, I wasn't sure how much danger I was in. I had to understand it, master it. I needed to find someone who knew more about this thing.
Controller support. I don't know how many questions we're going to have time for, but I will get in as many as I can.
I drifted off with a smile, meditating on the flames that engulfed his cruel face.
You're alive. That's unexpected. Last I saw you, you were lying in a crucible's worth of blood. An intellect devourer nibbling at your ear. Glad to see my eyes deceive me. I'm Gale.
Can you pre-order it on Steam? I don't know if they have pre-orders open yet.
speechless? Might be the shock. We went through a traumatizing experience, if an instructive one.
I'll turn that off till it gets on.
Yes. The ocular penetration by an illithid tadpole, which will end with our souls being snuffed like strands of weave caught in dead magic. Not to mention, you're staring at me like a Rashimi at a blackboard. You're no wizard, are you? Because I need one, but it'll have to wait. The primary need now is a healer. I take it you recall the insertion of the parasite? Interesting. Are you aware that after a period of excruciating gestation, it'll turn us into mind flayers? A process known as ceremorphosis? It is to be avoided. I assume you're no accomplished healer either. Powerful cleric, maybe? Just trying to figure out where we stand. Conclusion? Nowhere. You and I are in a whole lot of trouble. We need help. I'm not sure where we'll find it in this wilderness. How about we embark on the quest for a healer together?
All right, guys, we are almost ready. Stay tuned.
Without further ado, let's be off. Besides, looks like you keep some interesting company. A woman with shadows for eyes, deep as the dark lake. Pleasure, madam.
Is it indeed? We'll see.
Why does the character you are playing read out their own dialogue? Good question. The early access is arriving on September 30th. They did not announce a full release. My guess is they don't know yet. From the way they described that stream, the amount of permutations and the way and decisions you can make in the game is like the most I've ever seen.
You're both twice as tall as me, but have half the bloody backbone.
But we don't know what that thing even is. And what about the crypt?
I'm telling you, it's a ship. And the crypt can wait. Mari and Barton have been trying to break in for days. Now we... Stop! Got ourselves competition already. That's our ship. What are you lot waiting for? Get her!
Okay, I do have confirmation that he is getting ready and he is getting out of his armor. So, hang tight. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to turn up the game volume so we can just watch some gameplay and chill out for a minute, because I think it's going to be about 5-10 minutes at least. Ask him if his balls got sweaty in armor. I don't think I'm going to ask him that, but I appreciate that question. Journalists ducking away from the tough questions. Is that something you really want to know? The current gen consoles. My guess is that that it's not going to. They've never done early access on any console before. I don't even know of any other games that have ever done early access on console. Maybe there's some that had betas, but not actual early accesses. So I don't expect that to be a thing. Ask him about what graphics are rendering on. I'll write that down. Yeah, I mean, I would guess with the timing of current gen kind of fading into the next gen here by the end of the year-ish, that I think they would be developing for next gen, because typically if they just follow the same pattern, their games have come out on console a year or so after it came out on PC. So let's say hypothetically this game comes out next fall, which I think is a tall order for them to do. But if it came out next fall on PC and Stadia, then the fall after that, which would be 2022, it would come out on console, which we'd already be like a year and a half into the next console's life. So there are reactions in combat. We know that's been confirmed already. How many toes can we lick in the game? This is footage back from when we saw the game in February. We're going to have Sven on shortly. And we're going to ask him some questions. This is just something I put on in the background, so you could watch something while we're talking. Put pants on. Just because Sven's coming doesn't mean I need to put pants on. Shh. Do you serious question. Do you think Sven was wearing pants under that armor? I don't think he was wearing pants.
No lock, no handle. How does it open?
Wait, he's coming because I don't wear pants? COVID allows people to freely go to meetings without pants. That is the silver lining, isn't it? The silver lining is that you can have fucking, what is it now, Zoom meetings with no pants? But, you know, joke's on you guys, because I haven't been wearing pants for years. So yeah, so typically when a game goes in early access, you can't purchase it before the early access date, because it's not even available typically. So I would expect you not to be able to buy the game until September 30th. So I don't know if there's going to be any preload or anything like that. Can we ask him if you're visiting Baldur's? I think that's already been confirmed, Ruga. I'm pretty sure they have a team of writers. I've met Adam before, and I've talked with him quite a bit. I don't think he's the only writer. No, I just confirmed that I am not wearing pants. So, do we know the price of the game? I don't know the price of the game. That's a great question. I would expect it to be $59.99, but I mean, did you hear what they said during the live stream? I mean, I'd pay $59.99 for that. So, but I don't know. You pay one lung. Well, you only need one, so. Are they going to have more announcements before early access? That's a great question. I don't know. I would expect... Larian usually has some... They're very teasy, if you hadn't noticed. Sven likes to tease. So my guess is you'll probably see some teasy type tweets. Yeah, Sven is going to be here in just a sec. He's just getting out of his armor and getting set up with a headset and stuff. We're going to have Sven here shortly. But I would imagine there's going to be some teasiness, but I imagine they're going to be flat out trying to get that early access out on time. Because, I mean, if you caught the live stream and you heard the discussion about all the potential... this is footage of Kieran playing. He's like their PR, had a PR from February. This is old footage. Will they add a Game Master mode? I've asked this question to Larian before. I basically got the, we can't confirm or deny that. That was basically their answer. So my guess is that they want to add it, but they don't want to say yes and then not deliver it. So I would expect that it's either going to be in the game at launch, or it may not make it into the game at launch, and then they make it in later. By the way, he's still getting out of his armor. Apparently, it's like a whole spiel to get out of that armor. I'm going to give him shit about it when he comes on stream. By the way. I'm going to ask him, like, what's he do if he has to go to the bathroom in that armor? What am I most excited for in BG3? I think it's the thing that I'm most excited for in any of Larian's games, which is the absolute freedom to do just about anything you can think of. From the sounds of it, Baldur's Gate 3 is going to have even more freedom, like on an unprecedented scale than in Divinity. And that Divinity was already pretty unprecedented, so... How many AP does he get from armor, yeah? If you're young and fit. What are you saying, Nagasato? The historically accurate reply is shit inside your armor. Oof.
The tadpole has
Do we know how many spells we have? Well, we have a rough idea. I mean, assuming all the spells from 5e make it into the game, you could crack open a 5e handbook, and that would give you some idea on the number of spells.
I must find a creche. You will join me.
Lies.
I mean, that's a rough idea of how many there are. Yeah, assuming they all make them in. I think they're going... I mean, you have to think from the way they talk during the stream that they're going to try and get absolutely everything from 5e into the game. I mean, why would they do all that with the dialogue and options and everything and then, like, not add some spells? You know what I mean?
Githyanki protocol is clear.
They said there were 500 NPCs, over 500 in Act 1. Or in the Early Access. I think Early Access is just Act 1. But I could be wrong.
I know my teachings. There are no half measures. If you wish to be rid of the tadpole, you must either be purified or beheaded. You have made an ally from Kresh Kalir. Few know such fortune. Call me Lae'zel.
Fool. No point in showing a mad dog kindness. It'll still bite you in the end.
You've a sharp tongue, elf. Would that your mind proved its equal. Half-elf. Come. The Horned Ones mentioned a camp. One there, this Zorru, has seen Githyanki. A creche must be near. We will ask this Zorru where he has seen my kin.
Any words on Lone Wolf mod?
Chahi.
That's a great question. I don't know if I'll be able to ask it if we have time, but that's a great question. In an interview, Sven said early access is going to be bigger than the whole of DOS 2. I don't think that's entirely true. Only because on stream today, it sounded like they said early access would take you about 20-ish or so hours.
Disturbing.
Yeah, it's bigger than the initial DOS 2 early access, not all of DOS 2.
Our bones should ache, our mouths should bleed.
I mean, DOS 2 is like 150 hours of gameplay, so
On the path, the ship,
yeah.
there was a voice. It promised to change us.
Annika says Larian is mad, but not that mad. They're not going to try for an early access that's that large.
Manipulation. It is obscene. Reject it. Wise words. I'm almost impressed. Keep your rest short.
I mean, think about that for a second. An early access that's 20 plus hours. That's what they said, 20 plus hours. Mortal Shell is 15 hours, and the early access for Baldur's Gate 3 is 20 plus hours.
Anyway,
That's just some perspective right
other
there.
than the occasional mental exchange, it's almost as if we're not infected. The voice on the ship told me I'd become a beautiful weapon.
Romance question, okay.
What do you think it meant?
20 hours early access is bigger than some games. I mean, that's... God of War takes you like 22 hours. You know what I mean? And that was, that's insane to think of. And I think, and I could be wrong, but I think, what Sven was trying to say about early access was, well, we can ask him when he gets here, but that, or at least what they're trying to accomplish is that there's so many more things you can do that you might not even see like 80% of the content because your path might take you just through this one part and there's 20 other ways you can go. So you have to play again and again, and maybe that, I don't know.
Hello? Anyone there?
First,
The early access release date was
not
said to be
drink the
September
blood of
30th.
Thinking creatures.
For allowing more player control over the reaction toggles. Okay. I'm getting word that Sven is ready.
Thou shalt obey me in
So
all
let's get him on here.
Where are you?
Let me turn the volume down
Show
here.
yourself!
Third, thou shalt not leave my side unless directed.
My heart pounded, but I was ready. He was going to regret coming for me.
Fourth, thou shalt know
Hello?
thou art mine.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, Cass. How are you doing?
It's been a while, man.
Yeah, it's been. It seems like centuries ago when we were in the States. When was that?
February.
March.
Tail end of February.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a very long time. So much has happened since then.
Clearly. That was an amazing stream, by the way. I mean, my mind is literally blown. I can't believe you guys are making the game that's that comprehensive.
Well, we've been at it for quite some time already. So, yeah, it's a big game. It's a very big game, and it's taking all of our mental capacities, if you want, to manage making it. But it's turning out to be something very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, the scope of the game is so huge.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking my first thought was we're trying to make a wiki for this game. I don't know how the hell we're ever going to do it.
Yeah. It's going to be quite complex, to be honest. You'll figure it out. I mean, but there's just a lot of options, right? And the game supports a lot of things. But at the end of the day, you still have a journal with things that you need to do, and then it's just up to you figuring out how to do them. And then you do them, and then new things pop up. Maybe you get sidetracked, and like this, you progress through your story, and then it's a story with a beginning, middle, and an end. So I'm sure you'll figure out a way. But there's a lot of permutations.
I mean, it really sounded like to me that you guys were really working on giving players even more freedom to just, whatever they felt like they should do, that there was a permutation for that. Like if you wanted to do this and this and this and this, you could. And you guys have a tremendous sense of freedom in the Divinity games. How much freedom do you have in this game compared to that?
That's a really good question. So at least as much. So
yeah.
I can tell you that. I think you just have much more options now. And that adds to the freedom that you get. Whereas just the addition of verticality alone already gives you so much more ways of doing things. And the advanced stealth gameplay that's been put in there just opens up an entire new windows of opportunity to try to steal something from someone, or to try to solve a situation in a non-orthodox way. Talking about creating shadows, hiding in shadows, so creating darkness, and how the game deals with that. So it's really the addition of support for Dungeons and Dragon mechanics as much as we could. Gives you new options, and those new options cause or give you extra freedom if you want, because you just have a very large menu of things that you can do.
Yeah, I mean, it looked. I mean, I can see why you guys delayed early access. I mean, you just keep thinking of more things that might happen in your game, and it just seems like you guys are completely unwilling to compromise.
Well, we do make some compromises, but it's true that if you run into a situation that just is the logical consequence of a whole bunch of choices that you made, and then the game doesn't react well to it, that's dissatisfying and frustrating. And so then we add content to make that work. We give you lots of choices, and so the game should reward you making those choices and fulfill your agency. The thing that we talked about on the stream was like evil choices should have their own storyline, and so we went far in this. We didn't do this in DOS 2. DOS 2 didn't really have an evil storyline. Now we have many evil storylines, all based on choices that you could make. It's a lot of fun. Few people will see it, but when you hit it, you'll say, "Well, damn it! I'm happy that they did that," because it's like normal that this happens in the story after all the stuff that I've done, and so that's a little bit. It's been a bit of work. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, what's it like working with the Dungeons and Dragons team on this project? I mean, how involved have they been, and how have they helped work with you guys on this?
They've been super supportive. So we spend a lot of time when we started out together, discussing, getting to know each other, talking at length about what we were going to do. And then as we progressed, they gave us really a lot of freedom. I mean, like they obviously we have to adhere to the lore. But we quickly figure out what the guidelines were, and so ever since it's been like a very, very easy thing to develop for. I mean, like we click. I mean, that's literally it. You from the get-go, from the very first moment that we sat in the same room and we started brainstorming, there was this feeling that we were basically on the same team. Let's put it that way. And so now, whenever we have like some question or some doubt, we just ask them. Then they give us a lore dump back, and then we work with that. So it's been very, very, very easy, I have to say. You often hear these horror stories about working with licensors, but in this particular case, it's been good. That probably has a lot to do with the fact with the sheer quantity of Dungeons and Dragons fans in the Larian Studios itself. I mean, like there's Dungeons and Dragons sessions going on all over the place, and all of our studios continuously. So that probably helps. I mean, like the team briefs D&D already.
Well, I mean, that was a huge inspiration for you guys for Divinity, right?
Yes, obviously. Well, one of them, but yeah, for sure. I mean, like D&D is a huge inspiration for anybody making RPGs.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you a bit about EA and what players can expect in the early access. It sounds like it's going to be quite expansive. I mean, it's going to be much larger than Divinity's and even Divinity 2's early access, right?
Yeah, yes and no. So it will, in length, not necessarily, but in depth for sure. And that's the strange thing about those numbers, because I had to explain my publishing team 20 times. Like, it's not because the numbers are that large that you can say it's that much larger, because it isn't. It's just you have so much more permutation, you have so much more choice, and in that sense, it is larger, but not in duration. It's just that there's so much playthroughs that you can do.
So during early access, are you going to have like all the features that would be in the game? Or is it you're going to be adding some of the features after early access comes out?
Both. There will be a lot of features in the game, and then there will be features that are going to be added throughout early access. So not everything is ready, and it doesn't have to be also. So you will see as we progress that more and more things are being put in there, update after update.
Okay, cool. I'm glad to hear that. That's awesome. As far as early access has gone, this is I don't know if you did early access before DOS 1. I don't know if that was the thing you guys did, but I know you've done early access for DOS 1 and DOS 2. How has that helped you, and how are you expecting early access to help you with BG3?
Well, it gives us, it's basically we get two things out of it, right? We get a lot of data. So we see where players die, what spells they select, what items they pick, that kind of thing, where they go, where they don't go. That's also very important. Which choices they make, which choices they don't make. So that's one thing. We also get a whole bunch of feedback, which is, I don't like this UI. We get people who write us essays where they tell us, do it like this. And often but often there's very good ideas in there. And so we use that to fuel our internal debate. And then out of that, typically better design decisions come, because we don't have answers for everything. We just interpret things and we try to come up with something. But there are a lot of people out there, and often the group has better ideas than we have. We just have to figure out what those are and then see if we can still implement them, yes or no.
So I know feedback has been like a huge part of helping develop these games. Like how seriously do you guys take this feedback? I mean, like how much different do you think these Divinity games and BG3 will be because of that feedback?
Well, you just have to look at the early access version of Original Sin 2 compared to the final version of Original Sin 2, and you see the big difference. I mean, like even post-release on DOS 2, what community was saying, we were listening to it and we were adapting our game to it. There's we make games because we enjoy seeing players have fun with what we made. And so the idea that we would make something that would not entertain them doesn't work for us. So if a large group of players tells us this is really not okay, then we will adapt and we'll fix it within the realm of the possible, of course. If they say we want to have a first-person shooter instead of a turn-based game, well, we won't be able to do.
Cozy.
But if they say, I always pick the example of durability in Original Sin 2, we put it in there for what we thought were good reasons. They hated it. We argued. They still hated it and said, okay, well, they're probably right. And then we adapted it, and it became a better system for it. So there's there's a whole bunch of things that we hope to pick up from what the early access community is going to tell us.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see what they say. I can't wait to play, honestly. I'm so excited. This is going to be amazing.
Let's hope so. We've done our best, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, like as always, like the early access always comes with a warning. What ships is not the final product, right? So it's not the final game. It will become better, but it is already a lot of fun to play, I think.
I mean, it looks fun. It looks super fun. I mean, it just looks like you can jump in and get immersed like instantly.
I gotta say, right now it's quite challenging. I think you can jump in and die is more like it.
But that's D&D, right? So
yeah, so that's one thing that we have a bunch of playtesters that are going to be playing it now. So I'll be very interested to see how that goes. I mean, like how far they actually get, and before they get frustrated if they die. So we'll tweak things, of course.
Right. So I wanted to ask you, like, what's been the biggest challenge so far in developing Baldur's Gate 3? I mean, this is a game that everybody has so many different ideas of. How have you dealt with that, and what sort of things have you had to deal with the development of Baldur's Gate 3?
There's been many. Reinventing ourselves to be able to handle the sheer quantity and quality expectation that we had for our own cinematics. That's been quite the upgrade for the studio, because the amount of supporting functions that we need to have to be able to pull that off is quite remarkable, I have to say. So that's been a very big challenge. And then maintaining the overview of everything that's inside of the game that's been hard also, because there's so much stuff that you can do. So I think those are probably two of the biggest challenges that we've encountered. Converting the player handbook into something that works in a video game, that's also not been the easiest thing in the world. Fooling around with that. I mean, we actually publicly showed multiple iterations of our initiative system, for instance. That was us looking for how to do things. So I'm very happy with what we have now. So those are all things that have taken considerable development effort.
Yeah, I mean, you would probably say that this is the Dark Souls of Baldur's Gate games.
In what sense?
Just that it's so comprehensive and expansive. It's got to be challenging to pull it all off.
We'll find out,
Yeah.
I mean, like we'll see in less than 2 months. So we'll see what players tell us. I mean, like I know what's in there. So there's a bunch of things that are obvious that we still have to fix or that we have to improve. I'm very interested in the things that we don't think that we have to fix and have to improve. So that is where my real interest in EA lies.
Okay, cool. I wanted to ask you about itemization. This is a question that I think a lot of people have had. How will it be handled in Baldur's Gate 3? You know, there are obviously items in the player's handbook, but are you guys going to expand on that and add your own items? And how closely are you going to follow that? How is that going to work?
It's a mix. We have some items that we added for good reasons, I think. Then you will also find items that are very classic, that are referenced in the Dungeon Master Guide or in the player handbook. So it's a mix of things. It's also things that we discuss with wizards. You will also find those in there. So it's a mix of things.
Okay. I think I asked this once before, but the locations of items and stuff, I don't think are random, right? Like they're placed specifically in certain places.
That's a mix too.
A mix too. Okay.
So yeah, there's the regular loot, like a health potion or gold or that kind of thing. That's going to be randomized. But then there's going to be like an amulet that allows you to speak with death. That's going to be in one specific location, for instance.
Okay, cool. I wanted to ask you. This is something that I was really amused by on the stream. Was the intellect devour? How did you guys come up with this, and how did that all happen?
So you start on this Nautiloid flying over Avernus as a kidnappee by the Mind Flayers. And so your first quest is actually to get the helm of the ship and take control of the ship so that you can get the hell out of there. The ship is being attacked by devils and imps. But you're level 1 character, so you have to be very careful. And so the very first we're introducing it to Mind Flayer culture and between brackets, and Intellect Devourers are a part of that. And so what we start doing when we make quests like this is we first implement the main quests, and then we start adding what we call situation boosters, gameplay boosters that surround the main quest. So things for you to do as you journey through the area. And so one of our scripters had made a room full of weird Illithid stuff. And one of those things was the chair with the body on it that you saw, and that had its brain empty. And so there was an interaction. And so that led to the dialogue. And then the writer, as she was writing it, the scripter came up with the idea, well, what if you can get a follower out of it, but you can actually manipulate the Intellect Devourer so that it actually becomes your follower. And that's what you saw with the crippling that you did in the game. And like that led to the situation that you saw. And so that's a very typical way of how Larian puts stuff into a game. It's like there's a core ID. It goes on the hand of the scripters and the writers. They start fooling around with it together with designers and artists and other members of the team. And what comes out is never what went in the first place. And that's why the games work out so well, because I ask for A, I get A plus B, C, D, and E, and that's much cooler in general than what A was originally.
Does your team just naturally do this sort of thing? Like they just it happens and you're like, well, okay, or is this something that you try and create?
It's I mean, like it's very much part of the way that we make our games. Like everybody gets a lot of freedom within constraints, of course, but they get freedom to do their stuff. And so I have other examples. I was thinking of a thing, but it just slipped my mind. So we do these reviews of the game, and often during a review, I encounter something that nobody ever talked about. But the team just put in there, and then either they get kicked out or they get developed further. Like this guy was a perfect example of something that gets developed further because it makes so much sense. If it's cool, it's cool, right? And then we in general we obey the rule of cool, which says like if it's cool, you should put development effort into it because players will also enjoy it.
I like that. I mean, that's the way games should be, right? Just simple.
Yes, but yeah, you have to be able to do it. Of course, that's often the hard part. Because you do have things like schedules and budgets and what have you, and so we've been very lucky that we have so much freedom in how we can approach this. So we're probably overdoing it a little bit, to be honest. But yeah, well, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly sounded. I mean, my first thought was like, how are they gonna finish the game? That just seems like an open-ended. We'll get done when we get done.
Well, I mean, like by shipping early access, that's our first big step. And that typically forces us into finishing things. So I think with DOS 1 and DOS 2, the release on the early access was a major milestone in development, because that means that we have sufficient systems in place and processes to actually be able to do things. And then from there onwards, it becomes easier to do things. I hope, at least, because it's been quite a push to get the early access out of here.
Okay. I know you're busy. I don't want to keep you any longer than I have to, but I want to ask you one more question before you go. I wanted to ask you, with early access coming at the end of September, is there like one permutation that you absolutely think people should try and do? You don't have to spoil it, but like if you go play early access, you should do this one thing. Is there anything like that you would suggest?
Yes. I would go and betray everybody and just see how that pans out.
Like everyone?
Everyone, yeah. I mean, one of the main themes of the party is trust. And so what better way to test this, a game that is about trust than to just betray everybody's trust?
Wow. And that is totally viable.
It's totally viable.
Wow.
That's what we mean when we talk about evil playthroughs. I mean, and it'll lead to things that you're never going to imagine that we actually go that far. You'll feel bad about yourself, which is but you'll feel rewarded also, because the game is going to treat it, hey, this is who you are now, so these are the things that are going to happen to you. How do you deal with it? And it's cool. You get to make choices that you will otherwise never have to make. And I think that's really neat. I think that's probably one of the main achievements of BG3.
I feel like that should just be your like tagline: Baldur's Gate 3, betray everyone. That's really amazing. No. I think that's really cool, because most games, I think they just assume most people are going to be good and they have a few evil options. But the fact that you can do an entire playthrough and I can't even imagine it, honestly. I mean, it's like out of my realm of imagination. So I'm really curious to see that now.
Yes, it's that's why we're telling, because we know people won't do it anyway. So that's why we're saying, well, do it in early access then. Try it out there, see what happens.
Perfect.
See if you like it.
Perfect.
So it's and that's an obvious one then, because because people in general pick the good solutions. I mean, like, I have a hard time with certain things in there. I have a hard time clicking on it, to be honest, because it does get very dark.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed back from when I first saw it in February to what we were watching on stream today, it seemed a lot darker. Like, I was like, oh man, like there was some gore and some really, just kind of like, oof, I don't know. Like, I don't know how dark it gets compared to what we saw on stream, but I mean, it definitely seemed a lot darker.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like it's very diverse. Let's put it that way. There's a lot of different things that you're going to encounter: situations, locations, characters, NPCs, monsters, and so forth. And that's the cool part about it also. And it's like it's a wide section of what's available in Dungeons and Dragons that's going to be presented to you. And so you're going to have really cool situations to develop your characters against. So I think in that sense, it certainly already achieves what we set out to do. So there's certainly going to be problems, but I think that if you just see it and you say, can I do this? And the game says, yeah, sure, of course you can do it. Why can't you do it? Do you want to do this? And then you say, yeah, sure, I want to do this. Oh my God, okay, well then here's what happens next. And you say, really? You say, yes, really. What do you want to do? And that's cool.
Yeah, I think the one thing that you've really had to wrap your head around playing the games that you guys make is sometimes you're just not aware of the things that are possible. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you're so used to having these like railroad games where the limits on what you can do is so confined. But playing your games, you almost don't try something because you're not aware you can.
It's been one of the biggest problems that we've encountered is teaching people to try stuff out. It's actually quite amazing in that people are so trained not to try things out because they assume that they're not going to work. And here a lot of stuff where actually does work, like me with the spider on the stream, right? Hey, I'm gonna go and test the game and see what I can do with my spider, and just traversing the world with my spider. It was awesome. I had a really good time. Like, I knew everything where it was, but I said, okay, well, that doesn't look that bad. Because often what you do is you script situations where the NPCs are waiting for the players to arrive. And so those situations actually were quite intelligent, and some situations treated the spider as a player, but certain situations say that's just a spider, it's not the player. So the scripters did a really good job of it.
So they actually had thought of that, and it was there when you went and did that?
Yes.
Wow.
So that's they have an entire handbook of things they have to think of whenever they make a situation. So somewhere in there, that must have been.
That's incredible. I mean, that they had already thought of that and it was just waiting for you to try it. It's so cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like it behaves systemically, so I don't want to oversell it. But it is like Shadowheart. When I did it, I bit her. She instantly turned around, killed my spider. I lost contact with the spider, so I couldn't see what happened next, and so I lost the vision. But then I entered an area where I thought nothing was going to trigger, but those creatures turned around and were hostile to me. Other areas I could just walk in, but the NPCs were in a loop doing things that they would be doing if they were waiting for a player without having noticed the player. So that all worked well. And so that felt really good.
That's awesome. That's one thing I really admired about Divinity was like, you know, there were things that were so powerful in that game or really clever, and you just let players have them. Like, here, take it. If you figured it out, you can do it. You know, I really like that approach.
Yeah, there's the list of exploits in this particular one is very large too. It'll be up to your. There's one I have in mind which we haven't shown yet. I'm not even sure it's going to ship in early access. But when it's going to be in there and people are going to start thinking of the things they can do with it, it's going to lead to a world of fun. But more on that later.
I can't wait. I am so excited. I know what I'm doing like all of October.
All right, cool. I'm happy to hear that. That's very cool.
Yeah, this is it's just been a pleasure seeing what you guys have done for the gaming industry. I think you guys have been such a breath of fresh air for everyone, just creating games that you can tell are made by people who love gaming and are just for fun and stuff like that. And I mean, you know, whatever we can do to help support that, you let us know and it's done, you know.
All right, super. Thank you very much, Cass. I appreciate it a lot. I'll pass it on to the team.
Okay, cool.
Very nice of you.
All right, man. I won't keep you. I know you're busy and you got stuff to do, but I really, really appreciate you coming by and talking with our community. And it's been great having you.
All right, take care and have a. Where are you now, actually?
I'm over on the other side of the world still. I can't travel anywhere because of all the stuff that's going down, but I'm supposed to go stateside in not too long, maybe like a month or so, visit my family.
All right, well, good luck then. And yeah, until next time.
Okay, man. Take care.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Ciao. Well, that was Sven. What a great guy. I love Sven. He's such a good dude. Well, we had Sven on after the panel. How cool is that? Today we had the Mortal Shell devs, and now we had Sven. It's crazy. He didn't have a whole lot of time, so I asked what I could. It won't be the last time we ever talk to Larian or Sven, so I'm sure we can get more questions asked. Maybe we can even set up an interview when he has a little bit more time to get some of these more specific questions asked that you guys want. We can even maybe put out, survey you guys for questions. I don't think that's within the realm of things that are crazy, but also early access is not that far away. So I think a lot of these questions are going to get answered fairly soon. So probably be a better idea to do something around early access. But I hope you guys learned something today. If anything, I learned that Baldur's Gate 3 in terms of scope and size is infinitely larger than I ever thought it was going to be. I was expecting something like, DOS 2, maybe 1.5 times the size, but it sounds just so much more. I can't even picture it. I can't even picture it. EA is early access. The early access comes out on September 30th, but they have not announced a release date. Can Larian make Neverwinter Nights 3? If they nail Baldur's Gate 3, which honestly it sounds like they're on the right track, I don't see why not, right? I mean, like, we could lobby for it. So he's the ultra rare shiny. It's not easy to get the CEO of companies on the phone. You don't do that every day. So anyway, thank you guys so much for coming, joining us for Mortal Shell and BG3. I will be back again tomorrow with more Mortal Shell in case you missed it. Just to give you kind of a rundown on what's happening later this week. Thursday, we're going to be playing some more Mortal Shell, and then we have a Remnant dev stream with the Remnant developers for their new DLC, which is Subject 2393, I think it's called. And then next week, I think we're going to have possibly Brian Fargo on for Wasteland 3. So That should be kind of cool. I'm really hoping we can pull that off. I don't know if 100% sure yet, but we should have a co-op stream with In Exile next week. So anyway, that's it for me today. It's fucking 4:30 in the morning here. I'm super tired. Take care, guys. I will see you guys again in the next one. Yeah, the